Right. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Really good to be here. How's everybody feeling this morning? Fantastic. Come on, guys. We want to hear the voices a bit. I flew in from London last night, and I'm still trying to get over the hour difference, but I think I'm feeling much better this morning. I was exhausted yesterday. But yeah, fantastic to be here with you. How are you doing this morning?
Very good morning. So far, so good. Well, I'd love to see all my friends outside to come inside and hear us. Come on, you owe it to us.
Yes, absolutely. No, it's great. Thank you so much for coming this morning. So really, today we really want to talk a little bit more around sustainable investment. So from your viewpoint, what do you consider to be, significant around sustainable investment, especially now? We've had a rough time. I think most economies around the world have had a rough time with COVID. We're starting to think about how do we build back better? Is there a role for sustainable investments to play a part in terms of building back better? What are your thoughts?
Sure, thank you. It's an interesting question. And what it comes from the fact that earlier we were into the businesses which we weren't sure ourselves about. Like I'll give an example. And I will not quote my friend on this because he hates when I say that. One of the leading cigar brands in the world, and the person who owns it has never smoked cigars ever in his life. So here, now I see a different trend altogether. Like people want to believe in what they're doing. People want to invest their money where they feel is correct from bottom of their heart. There is a serious change in the mindsets. Earlier we were doing just because we had to. We had no other option. Like I'm master's in hospitality. I was forced to get into investments. So of course I cook sometimes. My wife is here, she'll agree with that. So, but having said that, I believe sustainability and ethical ESG, what we call, is the big important question today. And I think it's all related to each other when it comes to blockchain, and especially the environment is the last priority. The governance, it becomes GSE. It becomes from ESG to GSE. G will be the governance, of course. You're bringing in the aspect of governance, which is the most important. Every one of you will agree that there's so much of corruption across the world. It's because of the government influencing and corrupting the whole governance. So the most important aspect of blockchain is bringing in the governance, and of course the social aspect, and then comes impact, and then comes the environment. But when I look at boys like Rob here, who are working on a completely rejuvenating the whole sector, I mean, it feels so fresh to see somebody thinking about a robust environment to create renewable tokenization or renewable NFTs. And that's what excited me, actually. That is one of the reasons why I am so excited about this new trend and new entrepreneurs like him coming up with these great ideas. And of course, it's going to be a long-term relationship with him. But yeah, coming back to your main question on sustainability, I believe everything that we are doing today is a challenge that is posed to us at every juncture. Is it going to be good for us? Is it going to be good for the planet? And don't get me wrong. I mean, the planet is in no danger. Our existence on planet is in danger. So let's not just be arrogant and say Earth. Let's say save human existence on Earth. And when everybody understands that, because I am, as part of the UN, we speak at a lot of forums worldwide. And the moment I say save Earth, the young boys and girls sitting in the audience, they're like, but what can we do? We're just a small animal walking on the planet. But the moment you say save your existence on Earth, then they know what will be required to save their existence. They need clean air, they need clean water, they need renewable energy, they need equitable distribution of resources. So the whole mindset changes completely. So, I mean, of course, here my name mentions the office of Sheikh Hamdan bin Khalifa Al Nahyan, which of course that's my primary role. But apart from that, being part of the United Nations University for Peace, when I was called by the Secretary General's office, they asked, what can we do different to continue to have sustainable funding for our projects and our university? The first question I asked was that, sir, are you ready to give up the charity and donations? Like, then how do we raise money? I said, we go impact. We raise money from impact investors and we create a circular economy around the university. And they're like, how do we do that? I said, today universities graduates, half of them do not get jobs, and that's why they're forced not to opt for education. Of course, they have to take expensive loans and borrow money from families. So I said, if I'm asking somebody to study at my university, I should be able to give jobs to them. So I created a job creation for them. And at the same time, I created an avenue where they can find investment for their startups. Of course, that requires a lot of corpus, a lot of money. And then we reached out to all the corporate investors of ours. And here we are sitting on a $20 billion commitments, and it's all for sustainability and impact investing. It's not like it's fashionable, everybody wants to do it, but people want to know what I'm going to do with my money. How is it going to make me look socially? How is it going to make me look politically? How it going to impact my society? Because at the end of the day, all of us have a human nature, which is love and empathy. When we hate, that's our secondary nature. That's in response to someone. But in real, we are humans. We love to love each other. So how do we give it back to society? And that's where the whole broad concept of sustainability comes in the picture. And for long-term peace, of course, you need sustainable development.
Yeah, no, it's a great answer. Thank you so much for that. I'm just wondering from the room, actually, how many people would consider their companies to be sustainable today? Right, quite a few hands. I was hoping to see a lot more hands. I think, the direction that we are taking, I mean, I've just come from the UK. We have COP26 going on, and I was at COP26 just recently. And one of the, the ambitions really with COP26 is actually for a united front when it comes to sustainability, to look at impact almost as part of the business, part of the process, embedded within your system. So very, very interesting to hear you talk about the United Nations and the work that you're doing with the UN. We've invested quite a lot working with the UN ourselves, especially when it comes to things like women empowerment programs and making sure that we have inclusivity agendas that we have in place to support different societies. So I'm just wondering from your point in terms of impact, if we look at the impact bit, how would you measure impact? Because that's quite tricky for a lot of people to measure impact. So how would you go about measuring impact? I think it's well and good, obviously investing and, channeling finance into sustainable projects, but then it's also really important, I think more significant actually, on how you measure that impact and how you scale the operation. So wondering from your viewpoints, around the scalability and also around the impact and measuring that.
Yeah, interesting. Again, impact analysis and its, impact is what's most important. What we saw before, what was happening was that a lot of these impact investors were giving money to, let's say, universities. And universities, especially, I mean, I'm not criticizing US, but US university in particular, they like to hold the technology to themselves. So an inventor who works up all the way, creates a technology, gets it patented, and then still at the end of the day, the technology is still owned by the universities, and then you cannot measure the impact of that investment because it's still to the chest of the university. The impact is not felt ever. So we decided to reverse the trend. And that's the reason why we were able to raise more money, is because we went to the universities, the investors, and said, we don't want the money for ourselves because we are, of course, United Nations. We cannot keep the money for ourselves. We said, we will empower the individuals through our Center of Excellence. We have created digital mentorship program. It's totally digital. Our partner at the moment is Hitachi, and we're in talks with other giants on social innovation front. These mentor partners are going to mentor these innovative ideas to impact, these innovative concepts to creation. Okay, and that will be monitored on the digital mentorship platform that we have created. It's under our broad vision, which is called Peace Innovation Initiative, under the Commission for Peace. And of course, Ms. Mubaraka here, we are part of the Commission for Peace. So the idea overall is go back to the universities. All of us, we are corrupt already. We need to go back to the youth. We need to get with the students. Instead of teaching them just moral science and value education, let's teach them sustainability. Let's sensitize them towards sustainability. I've seen best of the scientists, best of the technicians, engineers, mathematicians, we call them STEM. And sometimes they're arrogant about their education or their achievements. But if you sensitize them towards the environment and sustainability side of things, I think wonderful results can be achieved. And that's our goal at the Peace Innovation Initiative. And when they have these great ideas, and some of them are actually demoralized because they do not have investment opportunities. But if you give them the support and the investment at that point, when they're young, when they have ideas, they have aspirations, that's where the real impact can be felt, because you create so many entrepreneurs, so many startups, and some of them, of course, turn into unicorn. So that's the best way to monitor the impact, and not keeping the technologies and ideas to your chest and let the technician or the inventor go out of business. So that's how we're doing in our humble capacity.
Yeah, and sometimes it's almost quite difficult to actually measure impact, right? So a really important point around how you're channeling into startups and companies who are actually investing and doing good in this space. Another area that always kind of concerns me around the sustainability. I mean, we're in the blockchain space. We're an ESG-driven blockchain company in the UK, but we're also an investment company. So we like to invest in businesses that are very sustainable, and conscious about impact, make it their business, their everyday business to look at impact, right? And make sure that they're giving back. Because we believe if you give back, you will also receive back, right? So another question I have for you is, as we kind of pivot, which we have pivoted obviously with digital, right, since COVID. So as we pivot and we move into this digital revolution, one of the biggest areas that we've been covering is looking at impact investment across the African continent. Now, the African continent has come together and united to create the biggest trading bloc, right, in the world with the Continental Free Trade Area. And there, of course, the impacts around things like climate, is really hitting the continent quite hard. We're thinking about where else do we source alternative sources of finance to support the, investment into sustainable projects in Africa. When you look at a continent like that and you look at the region here, do you see any potential synergies, especially around sustainability and impact investment with these two regions in particular?
Of course, I see a lot of synergies. First of all, I mean, Africa as a continent has always been on the receiving end in a negative way, of course. And I don't blame them. I see a lot of African leaders. I'm attending a lot of events at the Expo. And they're all in the complaining mode. They're always like, the West did this to us. The US is very up like this and that, all kind of complaints. I'm like, what have you done? I mean, that's a question that one has to ask. That's always the question I ask African leaders. And not because I want to criticize them, but because I really want to do something. Just recently, we finalized investment in a cancer research center in Africa. And while we were looking at that opportunity, we found that there is not even one single cancer research institution in Africa, in an entire continent of Africa. There was not even one cancer research institution. So that's an impact that we're creating. Of course, we're setting up the institution because that's what our goal is as a university for peace. But a cancer institute coupled with a hospital, coupled with a world-class oncology research center, that's what we are doing right now. And there is more investment that can come from Middle East, from US, from the Western world, where there is an institutional investors who are more aligned to impact investing. And I'm sorry to say, the family office scenario in Middle East looks very, very negative at the moment. They have not yet realized the importance of ESG and the social impact investing. They're still very mercenary in their ways. I don't see them like me as a missionary. Mercenaries just chase the results. Missionary goes long-term to achieve a certain objective for the world. So that's very disappointing to see the trend in the Middle East. I want that to improve. I want more conducive policies to be created so that more impact funds. So I'm talking about institutional investing, not the private investments. I'm talking about institutionalizing it. I'm talking about giving support. I'm talking about giving the incentives so that more and more impact funds can be set up. Let's make it more easier for those funds to come up, because to set up those funds is a little difficult out here. So I want those policy decisions to implement. But Africa has to, and Latin America. Africa and Latin America, these are the two areas of our interest at the moment. Countries like Zambia, like I was yesterday with the minister, countries like Zambia, countries like Rwanda are growing at a very rapid pace. South Africa, where we have just invested in this cancer research institution. And North Africa, again, is another ballgame. West Africa is another ballgame completely. So we want to see a good amount of, like in the next 3 to 4 years, I want to see healthcare to improve. That's one of the most important aspects in Africa, especially the healthcare.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad you mentioned Zambia. Obviously, I'm very biased. I am from Zambia, so so very happy to hear you talk about Zambia there. I think, one of the interesting things when it comes to Africa is that there's a level of education I think the world needs to understand about Africa, right? We've always kind of perceived Africa as a place which needs, or we need to give, or we need to go and assist, when in actual fact, there's quite a lot of innovation happening on the continent of Africa. Africa is actually leading the world when it comes to payments innovation, for example, mobile money payments. So I think there's an education piece also that needs to happen even within the investment circles to actually understand what are the opportunities in these continents. I think you'll miss the opportunities if you don't look at the education piece. And if you don't look at the opportunities around things like sustainable investments across the continent, because there are many. So there's also that two-way two-way flow, between Africa and the rest of the world, and actually starting to see Africa as an equal level playing field area where you can invest, where you can, if you do your due diligence and you work quite carefully with the local infrastructure, you find business opportunities. I mean, I'm a businesswoman. I tend to think about things in sort of practical terms, right? So if you're able to educate, just like in any other markets, if you go into any market, you want to understand the market, you want to know who's who, you want to do your due diligence, you want to look at data. Exactly the same thing when it comes to the continent of Africa. And I think a lot of people now are looking to invest into Africa. And as you've outlined, right, there's a number of countries already that you're looking at. So for me, the other kind of question I had for you, before we look at wrapping up is actually, if you had to pick three regions in the world, where would you say you're going to focus your investments moving forward, especially sustainable investments?
So sustainable investment is totally different from philanthropy and charity. I have my biggest fight with most of the biggest organization is that they're more so focused on charity, and charity enslaves people, while investing in sustainable projects empower people. It's not about giving man a fish, but not just training him how to fish, but also getting him access to the market to sell the fish and create innovation centers so that he can cultivate better species of fish. So this is how you create a circular economy. So I believe investment in circular economy is the most important thing we need to do. Why just Africa, Latin America? There is so much of impact investment opportunity in the heart of Europe. I mean, let's not just think Europe is only Germany, France, and Italy. There is Albania, there is Bosnia, there is a lot of other countries which require urgent attention. A lot of people, the moment I talk about impact investing, we should go to India. I said, no, I'm from India and I know it's a rich country. Don't worry about Indians. Indians don't pay tax. That's a different story. That's why the government is poor. But Indians have a lot of gold and a lot of money. But yeah, the real pain is in Latin America right now. I really am focusing on that. Africa, of course, will continue to, because of the dependency that has been created. The empowerment was never there. It was only take the food, okay, eat it, have these old clothes, wear them. That was the mentality. So I think that has to change. So anywhere and everywhere, wherever there is a requirement for development of human index is where I am interested in to put my dollar.
Fantastic answer. No, thank you so much. We've got a few minutes to go. I'm again interested. I like to engage with the audience. So I don't like just talking at you, right? So I like to engage with the audience. So now that you've heard everything that we've discussed so far, how many of you want to be sustainable businesses moving forward? I expect every hand. Great. Okay, we're kind of rising the numbers a bit. Yeah, just to sort of wrap up. So one of the things that we are looking at is we're looking to invest into 10 million women-led businesses as a company for us, and we've made that as an objective for the next couple of years. And the challenge around that is obviously trying to, number one, reach the different women-led businesses. This is across the world with a focus obviously in emerging markets as we do. So I'm interested from your viewpoints, what your long-term ambitions are around impact investments. And then also, where would you, what is the one thing you'd like to see change around sustainable impact investment?
So again, a very pertinent question. Thanks, Michelle, for that. Between me and my wife here, Mubaraka, we in the last 1 year have employed 12,000 women. While their husbands were losing job due to pandemic, we decided to get into simple training like making food at home and selling it, candle making, chocolate making, and we reached out to the corporates. You gift your clients and during the festivals. Why not give us an opportunity? We'll not compromise on quality, and we created 12,000 jobs while their husbands were losing jobs. So we were able to run their homes. In fact, UN for Women asked us to even speak at their General Assembly to mention about how we achieved that task. And that was with the tribal women and women at real poverty, below poverty line. So I think gender equality and diversity projects are some of the most important projects for us at the moment. If you empower women, you empower almost 50% of the population. That's the biggest impact that you can create. And hats off to UAE for that. Today in the government sector, we see almost 50% participation of women. So that's the best example of gender equality. The West must learn from this. And also Saudi Arabia, the way they're opening up. And in fact, I'll tell you, the people who inspired me the most was in 2018 when we visited the Saudi Miss Foundation Pavilion at World Economic Forum. And the interaction I had with the lady in charge, I can't recollect her name. But that conversation that we had kind of changed our mind towards it. And Saudi Miss Foundation, by the way, is doing a great job. So there is a lot of inspiration around, it's like only if you're open to your minds, but gender equality will continue to remain. Interracial projects in Canada, especially what we're doing with the First Nations and the Caucasian white population. We're working a lot on those projects. So yeah, they will continue to remain. And of course, who can ignore water and electricity, energy?
No, thank you so much. I think we've come to time, but I just to summarize, I mean, this is my third time coming to Dubai in the space of 2 months. So that should give you some ideas as to, I see many opportunities here, and I also many opportunities between Africa and the region here. I've been inspired by the women here. I've met a lot of fantastic, phenomenal women, which I'm very excited about in the region here in Dubai, but also Saudi Arabia and other places. So we're very excited in terms of engaging with the region, and we certainly will be back. So I think it's a wrap. I don't know if we have a time for one question, maybe from the audience. One, just one, anybody wants to go? I just negotiated some time for you guys. Yes, please.
I think we need a question.
Yeah, all the way to the back. How can we help you? I really love what the state you're doing. It's amazing. I love what the organization is doing. How can we help you? What sort of help do you need right now before the end of the year?
Is that to myself or?
This is gentleman first.
Okay.
Okay. What we can do is we can engage with universities. So as many universities that you can bring on board, because what happened with the University for Peace was it's the only university or part of the peacekeeping mission of the UN, which is preventive to any wars. Usually peacekeeping forces go when there is war, they go to create the peace. But we are the only preventive organization within the UN which works towards creation of peace. And we cannot create peace without sustainable development. And to achieve sustainable development, we have to go back to the youth and engage these STEM, scientists, technicians, engineers, mathematicians. We need to engage them for SDGs. So we want to participate and partner with as many universities as we can, because I can't build 100 universities in the next 5 years, but I can definitely tie up with 100 universities. We will run the Center of Excellence there, we'll educate, we'll motivate, we'll create ideas and reach them to the impact, all absolutely at the investment that we will raise ourselves. So we need to engage with the universities. It's not just me and you that we can do it alone. So yeah, thanks for asking this question. It's a kind of a sales pitch for me. Thank you.
Yeah, and just quickly from my end, I think, it's about collaboration, right? So we need to partner better. I think the world needs to work better. I think the world needs to respect one another in different countries and come together to solve the problems that we have. Certainly from our end as a company, even though we are profit making as well as a non-profit company, we're very interested in supporting others. So for us, it's about collaboration, working with us. And also we're trying to channel investments into the right projects, especially impact and sustainable projects. I mentioned earlier on, we're trying to reach these 10 million women to support them, be it access to finance. As we know, women struggle with access to finance. So I'm making it a personal mission to actually go and invest into women-led businesses and to support better access to finance. So if you're interested in investing in really impact-driven projects, then please do join us and we can work together. We are looking at, for example, Africa, 55 countries, all very unique, a population, of about 1.3 billion, right? To give you the numbers, GDP returns over 3.4 trillion. So massive business opportunities. And we're ready to work with different people from across the world. So looking for collaborations and partners. Thank you so much, ladies and gents.
Thank you so much. Great. Photos? Thank you, Ruth. We'll bring a couple of chairs on the stage. So next up, we have a panel discussion, DeFi and NFTs, Unlocking Investment Opportunities, moderated by a very good friend of mine, a very wise gentleman, entrepreneur. Happy to see you again. Maru Patel, please come on the stage if you don't mind. Maybe you can help me introduce your co-panelists. Let's give a big round of, he's a popular guy. Let's give a big round of applause for Maru. He's going to introduce his panelists. Happy to see you here. Yeah. And I also think he won the prize recently for best startups, best something. Maybe you can name drop that a little also.
It's about them today.
That's well, there you go. That's easy. Okay, fantastic.
Okay, thank you, buddy. Thank you, Gordon. Great session with my friends Zulfi and Michelle. Well done. I got a great takeaway from that. Missionaries and mercenaries, okay? So how many of you picked up on that? Well done. How many of you truly believe in that? Well done. Well done. That's why when Gordon said, Mru won this, I'm not about talking about it. The whole thing and the whole platform that we are trying to do here is about making a difference in 1 billion people's lives. It's not about money. So whilst this panel is about investment opportunities, I want to challenge the panel. So let me just call them in. Walid, Adrian, David, and Sachit. Guys, come on down. Round of applause for them all. Well done. Hey, how you doing? Hey, I'll be gentle with you, don't worry. All right. Okay, thank you, guys. So without further ado, guys, less of the adverts. That's the way I like doing these things. So, but I will give you 1 minute. I am XYZ. This is what I do for the company. After that, no adverts, hard kill stuff. All right? Adriane.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Adrian Niculescu. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor, and I'm involved in few projects: Cloudcoin Consortium, post-blockchain digital currency, DAO1, a decentralized autonomous organization, and also I'm involved in growing latoken.com towards IPO, besides other roles. Very happy to be here and contribute. I find what we are doing part of a very important mission.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sanchit, and I am CTO at Akar Chain. And I believe in DeFi and NFT very much. So I handle all the technical operations at the Akar Chain. And I have been into it like from the past 3 years.
Good morning, everyone. I'm David Namdar. I'm currently a general partner at Coral Capital, a DeFi-focused hedge fund, and also the co-founder of NFT.com, the parent company, Immutable Holdings, we took public in Canada a couple months ago. Prior to that, I founded a couple of crypto investment banks, SolidX Partners in 2014, Galaxy Digital in 2017. So I'd like to think I've played my part in helping grow the space and now helping grow kind of the DeFi and NFT spaces as well.
Good morning. My name is Walid Mansour. I'm a partner at Middle East Venture Partners. We're a Dubai-based and MENA-focused venture capital company. And our investments and play into blockchain and our blockchain-related technologies relatively new. So we've been mostly exposed to the crypto exchange side, some applications in gaming, and now we're very much excited to see the applications in MENA start to grow. So that since we focus here, it's exciting times. Thank you for the invitation.
Okay, thank you. Guys, let's raise the energy up a little bit, all right? Don't think that you're going to be in shy territory here, right? Okay, first question and a good follow-up to the previous panel. How many of you guys actually look out for investments where it's got an element of what I call not only sustainability, but what my focus is on human sustainability as well, meaning there are so many DeFi projects, so many NFT platforms, so many marketplaces, everyone giving you all sorts of yield plays and staking plays from 5% to the XXX numbers in terms of APYs, all right? How many of you look to say, okay, these particular ones are also doing something good for the humanity rather than what we all hear about is pump dumps and scams, right? How many of you, and I'd like to hear your view, actually. Adrian, I'm looking at you first because I know okay. It's close to your heart. We go back 15 plus years in Romania. All right, Adrian, what's your view?
We are very close to the personal development world. And actually, with everything decentralized, when the power is given back to the little guy, the little user, to us, to me, it comes also a responsibility. And when I'm analyzing a project, I also have a holistic approach. If it's sustained by nature or not, maybe you will laugh. So first I'm looking at the team, what they did in the past, what kind of successes they had, what kind of failures. After that, I'm looking if there is any technological breakthrough, technological innovation, because everything will evolve if there is innovation, not if are copycats or things like that. And after that, I'm looking at the potential for mass adoption. And somehow I try to figure out if there is also a human element, you know, a thing that will make the world a better place, you know, if that project will serve its part in helping this mission to bring the power back to the little guy. But of course, with this power, it comes responsibility. So we as users, we have to learn like crazy. It's a learning curve. And everybody has to do that, because if we outsource this to other people, to influencers, we will give them the responsibility actually to our future. So we need to put this effort. And because you are in this room, we are in this room, we are part of this effort. We could be on the beach right now, right? Or sipping margarita. But these margaritas will be there. And just to close this idea, DeFi space and this new world which is building evolves like the days follow the night. It happens, it will happen. So in order not for us to become obsolete, we also need to do our part. It's mandatory. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arya. David, I'd like to pick on you here you know, from your capital partners hat as well as the NFT platform hat. Do you genuinely look at companies, you know, like I do? One of the tick list I said is this thing good for the community? Do they give back in charity? Do they have sustainable things for anything to do with eco-related things? You know, the fact that a lot of the middlemen's cut out, transport, green energy, the way they do their mining, things like that. Plus, do they do something back for humanity? Do you have that kind of like tick list when you are selecting investments?
Unfortunately not. And
this is the missionary versus the mercenary bit, okay?
but yes and no. I look at it, and I actually really like the way that was framed by Melissa. I came from the hedge fund world. I started my career at Millennium and UBS prior to that, and so you know, I very much describe being in a hedge fund, you know, in the traditional world as being very much a mercenary. Now, what I love about and I've been inspired about within the cryptocurrency space and how it's evolved over the last decade now is that everybody, when they get into the crypto space, they become more of whatever they were before. If they came from a trading or investment background, they need to understand economics and law and early stage technology and community and all of these other aspects. If they came from law, they need to understand the trading side and the investing side and all of that. And so what I do think about is, you know, the medium and long-term potential and what it unlocks from the human capital side by participating in DAOs and all of the new experimentation that we're seeing in the space. So my view is that by investing in people that are excited to and innovating within the cryptocurrency space, that's enabling it's kind of taking us to a more sustainable future over the medium and long term.
Okay, I don't like to play everything by the book, so I'm going to challenge you here and take it to Walid maybe. The way I look at investment, first I look at the people. Have they got their hearts in the right place? Okay, I don't care whether you have gold, diamond, whatever. If you can't look clean, polish, cut, and then look after it, because this market is like that. But a person who gives back to community, has the values, what I call principles in life, and want to do something good for society, they will fall into a missionary camp. The ones who are just coming, sorry to say it, from a cutthroat hedge fund type of an environment, all they care about is ROI, APYs, who, what, where, why. And that's where I think a lot of the problems in this space exist, with the pumps, dumps, and the ruthless, dare I say, Elon Musk types of behaviors and Jamie Dimon types of behaviors that come in purely for money, mercenary, way of doing business. Walid, I want to pick, I know it's bubbling in you. Do you want to reply to that?
Sure.
Make it a little bit more
Sure,
exciting here.
Yeah, it's always been a debate to what extent money and capital has a real impact on society. And I don't have the answers, unfortunately. And I'm sure a lot of economists and PhDs have spent time understanding that, specifically in a new sector, in the new crypto-driven, blockchain-driven world, where you have less data and less impact measurement. But I have a very high-level kind of answer to that, at least as a venture capitalist. We are profit-driven. This is why we exist as companies, and we try to adhere to the highest standards in terms of ESG or in terms of whatever is being adopted and pushed for globally. But to come and say that we are impact focused, that would be a wrong denomination, right? That said, I think investing in startups, companies, new ideas, young people, by default supports jobs creation. We're talking about real jobs. We're talking about mobility. We allow participation of younger people, participation of minorities, participation of women through the and that's a byproduct of what we do. That's not necessarily where every investor wakes up in the morning trying to tick these boxes. I think when you do this even more in emerging markets, so you go to Egypt and you go to the GCC and you go to Africa and you do this at bigger and bigger scale, I think your contribution goes 100 miles or 1,000 miles more.
Okay, thank you, Walid. We're going to talk about how to unlock, as the topic says. Okay, now moving gently on to unlocking NFT and DeFi based projects. Do you think, in my view again, people should have a strategy, not only from the opportunistic manner, which I would say probably 80–90% of people fall into that camp. Everyone fighting against staking, pooling, NFT, multipliers, marketplace postings, trying to grab the biggest opportunistic window during the bull run. We are in a bull run, but I've seen the dot-com bubble burst. I've been right at the heart of it, and this will happen next year, So do you think this opportunistic behavior is sustainable or not? And I'm going to ask you this. Do you think this opportunistic behavior is sustainable? And two, do you think that people, if they looked at how they make an impact on 1 billion people's lives, which kind of like my mantra for 10 years, it can be more sustainable because, you not only doing the typical, give them the fish, but teaching them to fish and do the different species of the fish and all that. In my view, that's a sustainable model. You as the youngest guy on the panel here, Sachit, how would you see the world going forward? Do you want this pump and dump way of opportunistic way of doing DeFi NFT platforms or sustainable way of doing it?
Like I personally believe that NFTs are here to sustain, and in the coming times, the projects with like pump and dump will be not there, but with the actual use case, the projects will be there with the NFTs, because the NFT is a thing which is really backed up by the value of the project. So like for sustainability, we come on sustainability, that the NFTs which are really backed by the strongest persons and the values it holds definitely sustains it into the market in the long run.
Yeah, impact again. So coming back to that impact, NFTs, and I did this last year on a platform which Gordon mentioned. I would rather bring the small guys become more popular, and that's how you became famous, than just getting the likes of the Beebles more popular.
Yeah.
So when you get the small players who can do a song or a piece of art or craft or whatever it is into the NFT metaverse space and bring the physical product, with the virtual product from a nobody, then it becomes sustainable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know it's something you guys are doing as well. So what's your view on future of those platforms? Just you. Do you think that some of these pump and dump NFT and DeFi platforms will survive or die?
Yeah, definitely. The projects with the backed up value will survive, but the NFTs which are just claiming that they are only having the JPEGs and PNGs form will definitely not survive because they actually don't have any value backed up by them. So in my case, in a car chain, we have the value backed up by the NFTs in the case of property deeds. So we are actually storing the property deeds in the metadata for the NFTs, which creates the value, the listing price of the NFT actually.
Okay. Let's take it to another level now. Adrian, do you think, the reason why we are in less than 0.1% of uptake in this market, do you think the people, us included, who are in the DeFi NFT space, do you think we're making it more difficult for the general masses to be included, to invest in here, to make the opportunity even bigger? Do you think I don't know, maybe a UI UX based thing, maybe it's just how difficult we make it for the average person just to do with 2 or 3 clicks to invest? Do you think these are some of the barriers that we are facing just now? And we are not helping ourselves in the market?
In our circle, everything seems very simple, and we have the impression because
It's not.
we are talking to people around us, and everything seems very simple, and we have the impression that it's simple for everybody, but in fact, it's not. And usability of the platforms is one of the major things blocking the adoption of DeFi. The next one, I would say, is the security.
Sorry, even with my 30-odd years of IT, with computing degree, I tell you, it's not easy on majority of these DeFi platforms for me to just say, this is what I'll do, this is what I'll get, this is what I receive at the end. Very simple. We're struggling. So I'd hate to think what the 99% people feel, right?
Yes. So the usability is very, very important. The next one is the security of the funds, because people are used to, okay, I'm putting this amount in a bank account, it will be there most likely. With the DeFi platforms, you don't have this security. And after that, the blockchain slang, which is very common for us, has to be translated. So the regular non-tech people who don't want to make the effort to upgrade their skills to understand, because I was saying there is a learning curve. And because it was mentioned before, the human side of things, especially when we are talking about hedge funds and investments and trading, these are ruthless worlds, actually. So with trading, the market is driven by greed when the market is up and by fear when the market is down. Until us, we will be able to manage our own emotions, we'll be all the time in a roller coaster. So we have to work on us.
Absolutely. David, what kind of things have you seen or you're doing to really unlock investment opportunities? Because, okay, even last 3-4 years, we've seen it's become slightly easier for some of the exchanges with simple ways of doing simple buy sells or invest or protocol. But this is in our world because we know it. What kind of things do you see in the future? Because I see people having engagements where it is just 1-2 clicks. This is what you put in, this is what you get, and this is the assurance. What do you see going forward will unlock some of these investment opportunities?
Well, I think it's not that important to worry about where things are today in terms of how just the nice UI UX and how consumer friendly it is, because I look at it like we're still in this experimentation phase within DeFi.
No, if we are in the space, it's still, we are anal, let's be fair, right?
I'm with you. No, and I like the kind of healthy, skeptical approach you have to the market right now. And I think it is important to have that like one of the things I really try to do is whenever the markets are a bit too greedy, I try to instill that fear a little bit in people and just caution, because where we are in a cycle, there's a good chance a lot of the top crypto assets break out and continue to break out from here. But at the same time, a lot of the newer projects and recently launched projects are not going to work out so well in the medium and long term. And so I think there was a great line, Metakoven, one of the founders of Metapurse and everything, he described crypto as the new America. And what he meant by that was this concept of America at its origin of just anybody around the world can decide to join this new crypto asset world. And it doesn't actually take that much. It can be a little scary at first. It doesn't take that much education. Like you said, we're clicking a couple buttons, right? You have to figure out the differences and the nuances between one chain and another, or, living in this and putting out a thesis of whether we're going to have this multi-chain world, right? And the whole ecosystems around them. But the same way that we have multiple countries, multiple languages, the idea of a multi-chain world, right, isn't that far-fetched. And so when I think about how we're unlocking investment opportunities, right, in DeFi and NFTs is everything that's coming, it does start with education. It starts with getting your hands dirty. So what I really try to do is urge people to actually get past the just crypto 101 and buying something on an exchange just because it's easy, and really to actually see the power of taking things off the exchange, doing a couple of native digital asset transactions, and seeing how taking ownership of their money enables them and kind of leads them towards a better future.
Yeah, but okay, sorry, I'll disagree. I'll tell you why. In the .com days, in the early days, you had to sit there and do your DHCP and DNS and domain servers and all these BS type of configurations, which again, same things happening here. People needed to learn. That's why the adoption took a good part of 10 years. And I remember in the Valley with Sun, it took very long to get people to move there from the early Netscape days to then IE days. And then nobody cared how the internet works. We are like that in the crypto world. But we've been here for 10 years. So some of the things you're saying, yeah, it's okay to do this. No, I think it's when the grandfathers, grandmothers can just go like how they do a Google search to say, I want to invest. What do I do? Where do I go? And when it's that simple, I think that's when we've cracked it for massive adoption and big investment opportunities for DeFi and NFT players.
But sorry, and I have to push back. Like, why do you think that matters? The grant, like,
no, it matters because that's why 99% plus have not taken part in this movement.
But look at where the industry's gotten without them. And look at where the industry can continue to grow.
And this is not growth. We haven't even touched it. Look what's happened to the internet when it started to now. So this is not growth. This is not even sex yet. Sorry.
Your view, it would be kind of like saying that Facebook and Google didn't succeed until you had every grandmother and grandfather out there.
So Facebook and Google, having been there to, in fact, we gave the money to Google, ex-boss Eric Schmidt. All the things they were doing, we had the vision in the 90s of the .com and the network being the computer, which is now the cloud, and Google with all the Google Docs and everything they're doing there with the shared cloud. I mean, you can Google Maru Patel and open source, it'll be there. We're talking about 20 odd years ago, and it took 10 years past. Now the internet's established. To be able to do DeFi and NFT at a simplistic way of investment should be possible, but we are assuming that the average person knows whether it's a BSC or Ethereum, ERC20 or Tron or something. We are assuming that when we are implementing solutions, and that's wrong. Walid, I'd like to bring you in here. You look deep in thought over there. What's your view on how to put the magic into really taking this exponentially?
Okay, I think that in every product adoption cycle or technology adoption cycle, you need certain hypotheses. And it's funny you speak about the .com. It's because it's an era I know very well. I started my career in the .com era in IT, and I remember very well those days. Reality is, things, Rome doesn't get built in one day, right? So when we speak about the new, and I'm actually technically the least expert here on this group to talk about it from a technology perspective, but here's what I've kind of understood. The commercial applications of NFTs and the virtual economy today is limited to social media, crypto trading, gaming, right? And these three today are sizable businesses, right? They're not small businesses anymore. They used to be small 5-10 years ago, not gaming, but there's not so. Moving forward, in order to take those into e-commerce, into banking, into insurance, into healthcare, etc., you're going to need a few things. So first of all, you need the cloud infrastructure to be globally implemented and accessible to everyone around the globe. Second, you need mobile penetration and mobile adoption. And I'm not talking about the device here. I'm talking about accounts and stores and bank and credit cards, etc. Three, obviously, you have generations that are pick and choose platforms. There's a reason why TikTok is popular with certain demographic and Facebook is with it. Then that's life, right? There is no point in debating who's where and who's what. At the end of the day, every generation will find its place. Four, there is a regulatory question mark in some countries on where this will go, and I don't know the answer. I don't think anyone will see, but it seems that we crossed the Rubicon when it comes to global adoption, with EFTs being introduced as normal products. So basically, the regulatory question opens up the bank accounts for people to participate. And then finally, the final step of it will be the actual commercial applications. That's why we as venture capitalists have the duty to pick and choose and back the good entrepreneurs who are going to build what's going to come next. I think we're almost there. I mean, most of that has been built and has been tested and proven at a sizable scale. We're not talking about, MVP type of. Now, are you going to take it to cover the entire planet for it? Is it going to work the same way in China and in India and Middle East? Of course not. Nobody knows that. I think I'm excited about it. I'm not a specialist, but as a venture capitalist focused in the MENA region, I get to see trends here, right? 10 years ago, we started adopting e-commerce, but e-commerce was adopted 25 years ago in the US, right? There's a lag, it's fine, c'est la vie. This is where we live, that's how we do. But there's also a lag in the type of entrepreneurs that are coming in. Now, what you said is very interesting, because this is the first time in my 15 years of career in VC here that I see a true much faster velocity in entrepreneurial adoption coming from all over the world. Maybe Dubai is a fantastic town to kind of absorb this talent that's coming that I haven't seen before. I think that's exciting. I think there's way more women that are participating in that economy. That wasn't the case, a few years ago in that specific economy. I think, you have kids today. Like, I'm not talking about kids out of college, but proper, less than 18 years old kids who are interested and active, and and that's exciting. So I think we're on a trajectory. I'm not sure about the correction. Of course, there will be corrections, but the trend is upward.
Okay. Talking about corrections, my view again, there will be corrections. Anything that goes up so fast has to readjust. Otherwise, it's not good and healthy for the market. That's why, a lot of us made and lost tens of millions during the dot-com bust as well. And we've seen that over here 3 times already since the last 4 years alone. Nishit, as the youngest person on this panelist with a CTO head. So Nishit, where would you see the problems for what I call just now in this marketplace, a lot of the younger, I'm talking relative here, younger people like to play in, because most of it's going gaming, metaverse, even some of the DeFi related things are going that way. And I see a convergence between DeFi and NFTs as well. We're building it as well ourselves. Where do you see the younger generation to bring in that 3-4 way experience to investing is going? So, in a gamification way with DeFi, NFTs, into a metaverse or multiverse is what I'm championing.
So I personally believe that there will be a time in future when the physical appearance is less than the digital appearance. and creating the digital environment for the gamers will bring them more into the digitalized world by use cases of NFTs and DeFi, and their physical experience will be reduced in the future, I think so.
Okay, yeah, and something Walid said earlier, I'd like to pick on that. I think COVID, and we've got to mention COVID. COVID has made the NFT and DeFi space a lot more interesting, a lot faster, because people have been home, and they get into education, one. Two, looking at alternative sources of income. A lot of people had lost money. Three, you get, as Walid was saying, you get the wives or the girlfriends or whoever who have now said, hang on, there is an opportunity for us to earn as well while staying at home, right? So they could have families as well and do that. Do you think that, I know you married. Who else is married around here? Just you and me, bro. So do you think, and it would be interesting to hear your point, do you think your wife, for example, encourages children? So I know my kids at the age of 8 and 10 were making money when internet was very young. And I know lots of children less than 16 years are making $1 million. And do you think now the boundaries, what COVID has created has a hand in it, in a nice way, I guess, to accelerate this opportunity?
For sure. So I'm blessed with 3 daughters. The youngest one is 1 year old. The middle one is 7 year old, and the big one is 11 year old.
So
and
the 7 and the 11, are they into this, making money like how you did when you were young?
They do TikToks. They create movies to monetize. They have their own channels. The middle one is playing Roblox, and I want to put her to play Axis, and they are totally crazy in this space. Because they also, I keep them around me, and they see me in the call sometimes in Saturdays and Sundays, and they see me struggle all the time with the schedule and everything. So I keep them very hooked to this space, because I believe the best strategy is to teach them to involve early, and also to learn very early about the dangers, not to keep them away, because sooner or later they will discover anyway these spaces and will not be prepared. So the earliest they can involve, they can also create an income, because an 8-year-old today can have an income, sometimes even bigger than their parents.
I know loads.
And the earlier, the better. And she and I, we encourage them to do it, but not to create a dependency, because this is the biggest danger. And the problem is that sometimes through games and movies, there are instilled some negative patterns which could be destructive for children. And they have to figure out how to avoid them. They have to learn about them.
Yeah, I think the days are over. I tell my kids and nephews, nieces, all these people, forget rich dad, poor dad scenarios. When I'm having met Kiyosaki a couple of times, the days are now about rich children, poor dads. I think it has arrived. And I know lots of families where the children are earning a lot more than their parents ever did. So the world is changing, and that's why I wanted to pick on Sujit here. So with that, now we are timed up, guys. 1 second wrap up.
Amazing socks.
Thanks, Zulfiquar.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, guys, forget my Bitcoin socks. That was my wife's decision today. You must go and wear Bitcoin socks. Guys, quick 30-second final comments on this subject, starting from Walid this time.
No, I think I said it. It's exciting times, and I look forward to the next 10 years in this economy, new economy.
Thank you.
I think one of the most important things that happened in the space was earlier this year, May, April, June period, when the market pulled back 50% from 2 trillion to 1 trillion, and everything was fine. Leverage unwound, and nothing had no systems, none of the new DeFi protocols had to be bailed out. And so it really proved out the robustness of this whole DeFi world and new digital asset ecosystem that's being created. So that gave me pretty strong confidence in the growth that's ahead.
Thank you, David.
Bringing the revolutionization into the NFTs and DeFi world will definitely accelerate it to an extent where it is impossible to come back. Right now we are here. So it is too early for us, and I'm proud that we are into this.
It's never too early. Go for it.
No matter the temptations, stay on the ethical side. No matter the temptations, I'm repeating, and focus on building, focus on contributing, focus on serving. Use weekends to educate yourself instead of watching movies, because at the end of the day, the guys with the movies will make more money. Don't ever be the kind of parent to have kids earning more money than yours. They can do it, but you have to compete with them. So you need to upgrade your knowledge and remain a 20-year-old guy or girl with the open mindset to absorb what's new. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Adrian. And as I said, encourage all your children. Believe me, don't have this stigma that it's a competition. Work with them, involve them in your business, and involve them to learn with you. Take them to events. I mean, I do that as well. So thank you very much, panel. Quick round of applause to the guys here. Thank you. Well done.